Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 162 for November 4th, 2015. My name continues to be Russell Frost, even though I don't look like him right now, because you can't see me. Because, that's
Go
shocking.
back! Go back!
In my favorite Matthew Inman Tesla t-shirt, I am here bringing you your favorite Advanced Tech Transportation show this week with two of my favorite panelists. Let's introduce them in, atypical order. Let's start with the man up north, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome and greetings from the Great White North.
Good day, eh?
Good day.
Sorry, I've been watching all these SCTV episodes lately, so I'm like, oh,
love that stuff. Love that stuff. Yeah.
And not only do we have a man up north, we have him, well, north of me, because I'm in Florida right now, Mr. Tony Schaefer in Illinois.
Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday, and happy November, 70 degrees here in the Chicagoland area. Mark was saying it was as high as 22 in Canada.
22 Celsius.
Oh, there's a difference. That's right.
Oh, we've got another edition of the
show. Oh, wait, she's covering my mouth. What does that mean?
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
It only took 162 episodes to get her on the show.
No, she's been on the show. It didn't take 162 episodes to get her on the show. So, hey, glad you're here with us, gentlemen. Glad everybody else watching and listening and streaming the show later on is here. We actually have some really interesting stuff to talk about tonight, so I'm not going to babble too much. Let's start with the 2-minute topics. And Tony, would you be kind enough to kick us off, sir?
Yes. So I found on Green Car Reports from Stephen Edelson an article, most is in quotes, most of Fiat Chrysler's U.S. vehicles will be hybrid by 2025, according to the CEO. Now, it's just their promise to electrify and turn most of their fleet into hybrids over the course of time, which we would like to believe that all the manufacturers are going to do eventually. But what I found most interesting about this article is that the first vehicle they're planning on making a hybrid version of is going to be the Town & Country, which just like, holy cow, there's going to be a hybrid minivan. I mean, ever since, as far as I know, ever since the Gen 2 Prius in 2004, people have been saying, well, that's a great idea, but why not make a minivan? Why not make a minivan? Why not make a minivan? Turns out Toyota has a minivan that's only in Japan that's a hybrid, and they've never brought it to the United States. However, at the Detroit Auto Show, the Town & Country minivan is going to be unveiled, and it's going to be the first hybrid that they release. So they will, for a while at least, corner the market on hybrid minivans. And I think this is a really great thing. You know how many minivans are on the road today? Replace a bunch of those with hybrids, cut the fuel consumption in half. We're down to a third, and we're really onto something here.
Well, and obviously minivan owners, like big truck owners, are certainly motivated, even with $2 a gallon gas, to save, to not use as much fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if the differences between that and the regular minivan they'll put out. If it's going to be exactly the same, or spec-wise or size, or if it'll be a slightly different model.
Well, and forgive me, isn't the Town & Country kind of like the maxi minivan? Isn't that like the big, huge, fat, deluxe minivan?
Definitely deluxe, yeah.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Okay, I mean, it's like the Grand Voyager kind of thing, you know? It's not like a tiny minivan, it's a big one.
Yeah, and, you know, of course, we won't know until we see the specs and we get the official numbers. We won't know what the mileage is going to be, you know, and yeah, we would really like to believe that the hybrid version is not going to get exactly the same mileage as the conventional version, like we saw with so many other, you know, the SUV hybrids.
The Escalade that got 2 mpg better.
Yeah, going downhill with the engine turned off, right. So, I really hope they're onto something. I mean, seriously,
Uh-oh.
Oh.
We just lost Tony Schaefer, who has been frozen in time. Oh, there he is. He's back.
I'm back.
Hey, Tony, you froze for just a second.
Oh, well, that's really weird because it's really warm here.
Oh.
Boom.
But I think you made your point, and nice comedic comeback. Very good. Very interesting. And so here's the cynical guy who says, if they can do it. It's one thing to promise, it's another thing to actually deliver. Like you were saying, on a hybrid version that actually delivers better performance than the standard gas version.
Yeah, even if the hybrid version just has engine on-off so it doesn't idle at stoplights, that alone is going to cut consumption. So, just do something. I mean, just anything.
And that's a really good point because, how many minivans and SUVs do I see idling in front of the elementary school by my house?
I was just about to say that. It's sitting in the stairs. Yeah.
Drives me insane.
Yeah, exactly.
It drives me insane. Oh, here, all you little future asthmatics, come on, get in the car.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tony, for that. Let's look at the next 2-minute topic. You know what? Mark, you're going to back cleanup tonight because I have a couple of things I just wanted to bring up really quick. So this will be my 2-minute topics, as it were. Interesting new ad campaign from our friends at Lyft. That's Lyft with a Y. They are the Uber competitor. I thought it was interesting that their new ad campaign and new, apparently, direction is to be that last mile deliverer. They want to work with public transit organizations all around the country and have Lyft vehicles pick you up from mass transit and take you that last mile home, as it were, so that you won't need a car. I think it's a really interesting marketing strategy, and I love it. I don't know if it'll work, but I think it's a great idea.
Around here, there is certainly a market for that. People complain about the golden mile, but I do have to say, you know what else would be great for something like that? Autonomous cars.
Well, that is always the issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then my second 2-minute topic is really quick, and I'm going to post a link to that at the end, at the show notes at whatdrives.us and at facebook.com/whatdrivesus. A really interesting report by Ali Velshi from Al Jazeera. He has a show called On Target, and there's a wonderful 5-minute video about Chicago's traffic cameras, red light traffic cameras.
Oh my gosh, I watched that just today.
The interesting increase in accidents, and of course all of the sort of corruption behind it. I can't do it justice right now, but it's a fascinating report. It's a wonderful report, and I do encourage you to visit us on Facebook or at whatdrives.us and check out the link and watch the video. It's really interesting.
Yeah, they cram a lot of information in like a 5-minute video.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you follow up on it and read, the story just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. Every box opens up into another box. And, here's some corruption boxes that are, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, not wonderful that it's corruption. But,
welcome to Chicago.
Yeah, welcome to Chicago. Darn Chicago. So let's talk about the news this week. I teased on Facebook.
What about
I'm sorry.
I was supposed to back cleanup. What's going on?
Cleanup here, yeah. Sorry, we struck out. You're still in the bullpen, man.
Absolutely. Take us home, Mark Coughlin.
I wanted to bring everyone's attention to an article written by the Idaho National Laboratory. They did a study at about 8,700 cars, Leafs, Volts, and Smart EDs. And it was interesting that over a period of time, they discovered that during all-electric range, the Volt, having a much smaller battery than both of the other cars, was able to drive all-electrically only 6% less than the other cars with much larger batteries. So it just shows you that there is range anxiety out there. But if you have the proper vehicle or a different type of battery pack, it kind of goes away. But it's interesting to find out that a Leaf with a 24 roughly kilowatt battery, a Volt with a 17 battery, and the Volt was traveling almost the same distance electrically. But of course, Volt drivers have the luxury that if there is a problem with a charger or they can't stop for whatever reason, they can just continue on gas. Whereas the Leaf drivers, they have to plan out that stop, and they've got to get juice or they're not getting to where they're planning on getting to.
Right, because the Leaf doesn't have a non-electric driving option.
That's right. That's right. But it's kind of interesting that many cars traveling around. Obviously, the Leaf drivers are leaving an extra buffer that they need or are comfortable with. And I've heard many people talk about this where they have to leave somewhere between 10 and 20% that they're comfortable that they can get to where they need to go after the initial drive.
Well, but I also think it tells. I think the other story that I get out of that is that range anxiety, while very real and certainly a marketing issue, is more of a psychological issue than a physical issue. That people can make this work. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily need a car that can drive 500 miles on a tank of gas every day.
Right.
Right.
Which has been the paradigm that we've been sold that we have to have. Just like we've been sold that we have to have a big, huge SUV, or we're crazy. So
yeah. This article really does add credence to GM's GM's whole point, which was you give a medium-sized battery and then the engine to fall back on. And so
exactly, because that's how I use my car. I certainly go outside of my range in my Volt. I do it on a monthly basis, but I'm never concerned. There's always a backup for me. I don't have to worry. I can drive it till it's dry, the battery's dead, and I can just go that extra little bit of distance to get to my destination and plug it in again.
Yeah. So I mean, this article really does give GM the I almost want to say the right to say, "Told you so."
I don't know. I totally had no idea what Tony just said. I'm using new headphones, and sometimes the audio is just really garbled in them. So if I just go, it's because I have no idea what Tony just said.
So Tony, after you're done your next segment, just give the double thumbs up, and Russell know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. And what do you think about that, Russell?
Really? Yeah, Tony will be like slipping in the Russell sucks, or whatever, and that's okay. I'm used to it, and I'm good for it. So, thank you, gentlemen, for your 2-minute topics. I appreciate it. Let's get on to the meat, as it were. Oh wait, and here I have Tony on the panel, and that's probably not a good metaphor to use. My pardon me.
Well, we'll it's a sausage fest.
Let's get on to the main course. Or the main courses for the evening. Volkswagen.
The ongoing tale that is the Volkswagen saga. Episode 17.
Yeah.
It just keeps on giving.
It just keeps on giving. And both the New York Times, Automotive News Europe have reported that it turns out, big surprise, guess what? This problem isn't as limited as we thought it was. It could potentially be tens of thousands, maybe millions more vehicles.
Oopsies.
It's appearing as though Volkswagen put this software on just about every car they make.
Boy.
So I guess, here's where I'm no fun at a horror movie, because I'm the guy that's like, just get out of there! Boom, the movie's over in 7 minutes, right? It never happens that way. Here's where I just go, why does Volkswagen even get to exist anymore? I mean, at what point can you do business fraudulently and recover?
All of this expansion of affected vehicles undermines any claim anyone at Volkswagen could possibly make that they had no idea it was happening, because now it is revealed that it's not just Volkswagen branded vehicles, but it's jumping from brand to brand to brand, which means the software was being passed from developers to developers to developers.
It was one bad apple, Tony.
Oh, right. One person worked on every team.
I just don't know, like, when the brand new CEO of Volkswagen says, well, we just didn't know. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like...
One rogue engineer.
Yeah, and I can't expect a CEO to stand up and go, you know what, we did a bad thing, and we knew it, and we got caught, and, you know... So anyway, part of the story this week is that Volkswagen still hasn't found a way to fix this mistake, which, again, keep in mind, the mistake is that they cheat. Their engines are dirty. There's no fixing that. The question is what Volkswagen's going to do to make them cleaner. Volkswagen has offered a price guarantee to the dealers on used diesel vehicles. This is a kind of like putting a used Band-Aid on a bad wound that's maybe too big for it.
You know, I read this article that they're offering buybacks to the dealerships. I have not yet heard of buyback incentives or promises to the actual drivers.
No.
I know. It sounds preposterous. They'll never do it, but it's the only thing they could do to possibly save face.
I don't see how they can afford it. I mean, we're talking about, at this point, Volkswagen's potentially liable for $8 or $10 billion. And here's the thing. This is, you know, we have, in a sense, an analog in this country. When GM started swirling down the big porcelain bowl, who came to GM's rescue but the American government? And it was a good thing that they did. We can argue about the terms and everything else, but the idea that we were going to let GM go out of business probably wasn't the best plan in the world. And I imagine the German government is looking at this going, you know, as if Greece isn't bad enough.
I was just about to say, we have countries voting to defect from the European Union. Yeah. We have Greece, we have Turkey, we have immigrants, and now we have this.
Yeah.
I heard that they were that the stockholders were told of VW that they're setting aside $2.9 billion with a B dollars to help fund this problem, and that's what you're telling stockholders.
Well, originally, back in September, they had set a reserve of 6.7 billion euros for this.
Small
and then
change.
Just this week, they're looking at potentially putting aside another 2 billion euros. I guess there's a few different issues here. Number one, what is the cost, and is it even possible to fix this problem so that these cars are cleaner? And I don't know. I honestly don't.
Yeah, I don't have a clue. Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly no diesel engineer. They say that they can do it, or in an article I read a couple weeks ago, they said they are now working feverishly to find a solution other than cheating.
Well, they can employ a second cheat, Tony. That would save them a ton of money.
I think their second option is bribery.
Right. We're just going to pretend this never happened.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if they can recover. I don't know if they'll get through it. Like, can you think about, even beyond this, are there going to be lawsuits? Like, are individuals who own the car, are they going to be coming back with, these class action lawsuits? Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I was waiting for Russell to jump in. Yeah, we know that there have already been multiple class action lawsuits. I mean, these lawyers are foaming at the mouth, ready to jump on these class action lawsuits.
I can only imagine. When you have billions of dollars like this at stake, yeah, absolutely. There are attorneys buying domain names right now. I hate effing Volkswagen and .com.
Yeah.
So, I don't really know. You know what? Time's going to tell with where this is going to go. I don't know how they can fix it. They really can't without wrecking the cars and ruining the performance, which is why people buy these cars. People buy these cars because they're fun to drive, because they perform. Yeah. That's part of the deal.
Yeah, and I'm always looking at it from the owner's perspective, or well, not always, but often. And I picture if I had the car, every couple of years I have to take my car to the emissions testing, and I just have to believe that the emissions tester is not going to wave through a TDI anymore. So you get a notice. You have to fix your car. Yeah. And if you don't fix the car, you're not allowed to drive it. Period. So these people are going to have these cars that they're legally not allowed to drive, and no one in their right mind is ever going to buy it.
I wouldn't think so. I honestly, I think, was it last week or week before, we talked about Kelley Blue Book saying that Volkswagen diesels had taken a 16% hit in value. And I thought, 60%? That's all? That's cheap. Right. I'm surprised it isn't 50%.
I know that up here in Canada that VW head office has been handing out money to the dealerships, keeping them afloat, because there are many of them that are not selling cars. No wonder that they're sitting there in limbo, even though not all the cars were affected, but they've got this stain on their name, and people are staying away from dealerships in droves.
Oh, yeah. Who wants anything with a VW badge on it anymore? You know what I mean? Even if it's a gas-powered bug. And as it turns out, if this New York Times article is accurate, it could be every gas car they make could have this software on it.
Even the ones that don't need it. Yeah.
They did it just for fun.
One person, one bad apple.
Yeah. One bad apple at Audi, Porsche, and Volkswagen.
On diesel and petrol cars. Yes.
That is like a Bond villain level of, like, how do you have that control?
The VW Spectre.
Ooh. Hey, I have my tickets for tomorrow night, by the way. That's off topic. But I will be at the first showing. Awesome. Yeah.
Excellent.
I have a problem, but that's okay. Well, speaking of problems, Danny's not here. And Danny Cooper sort of made famous Danny's Honda rant when this show first started, because Danny was a big Honda fan, and I'm actually a big Honda fan too. Although I'm a Honda motorcycle guy, I've always liked Honda cars. And Green Car Reports this week, or actually last week, excuse me. Just got a little overview on a prototype CRZ. Now, this is the car that was really disappointing in every department except for looks. It looked cute, but it was no fun to drive, and the MPG was really not very exciting.
I'll tell you, I see CRZs on the street around here, and every time I see one, I turn my head. That is a sharp-looking car. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, it's a CRZ.
Right. It's a CRZ on the hood. It's a Buick underneath. a lumbering Buick.
It kind of is, yeah.
So Honda's testing a four-wheel steering, four-motor CRZ prototype, and you would think this car would just be amazing. It's supposed to have an estimated 450 horsepower.
Yahoo!
In a two-door car that probably weighs a ton-ish.
And a half at tops when you add in the batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to keep the wheels on the ground. Now, again, this is a prototype. This is a concept car. Will the real one have independent steering, a four-wheel steering, and four motors?
I don't know. Well, if they really want to claim, if they want to bring the sports back into the CRZ, I think they might.
It would cost $60,000.
I would love to think that they would figure something out. I just love the idea in this article, the mention that each motor acts independently, which allows the two outside wheels to turn faster when you're making a turn, so that you can corner that much better. I mean, I read that, I was like, oh my God, I want that. Oh man, turning would be awesome. And that level of control, the four-wheel drive, you got one wheel slipping, the other three are completely independent, and it would be smart enough to shift in between the wheels as needed. Yeah, it's a great concept, and as the article mentioned, it's just about as old as electric drive itself. So it's an old concept that hopefully Honda can really bring into the mass market.
Absolutely. Mark, do you have any take on the CRZ?
I do not have much of a take on the CRZ. Again, it's a sharp-looking car currently. I agree with Tony. You see them, and they stand out. They're a nice-looking car.
Right.
But that much power inside of a little car, like you said, is this going to be a Back to the Future car that flies? Because it won't be staying on the ground that much with that much horsepower.
You would think, right? Or at least you're going to go through tires like once, twice a month.
Yeah, it comes with a tire plan because you're going to be spinning them off the car.
Exactly. They're actually steel tires they paint black. That's the only way to keep rubber on the car.
Excellent night show with those cars.
I have no doubt, of course, that they would throttle it back, but I just love the technology. I just love the idea of the four independent motors. I just think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Tony, have you ever heard of a group that actually implemented something like that older technology, that anyone has ever done it? I can't think of anything that comes to mind. Only
in like you would have a standard engine that powers the front, and then like the what Toyota is calling the E4-wheel drive in the 2016 Prius, only in Japan, or at least everywhere but the United States, that they are putting two motors in the back. But you still just have the one primary motor, the front-wheel drive. So you end up with three motors, and Honda's doing four. Because if three is good, if four is better, and if you can do five, that's awesome.
Just for the hell of it, just have another motor on the.
The fifth motor isn't even hooked up.
Yeah. It just spins. Just because it's like, hell with it, we can do it. There was a company, Mark, that I saw in 2011. Danny Cooper and I went to the annual plug-in convention, which is sadly no more. And there was a company whose name escapes me. I want to say it was like Polaris. I mean, obviously not because there's a Polaris out there, but it was something like that. But they were developing motors that sat in the wheel hub, and they were working on, I want to say it was a Toyota Tundra. It was a big truck that would have four independent motors. So that's the only one that I know of, contemporary-wise. Of course, the 100-year-old Porsche idea or something. I don't know that ever made it out of Birdie's garage, but that was certainly, something that people have thought about. I mean, it's not a new idea.
Interesting to see if that would come to fruition. That's interesting.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of eyeing on things, Carlos Ghosn, he is the CEO of Nissan. He's talking about Nissan, wait for it, entering the fuel cell market. Yep.
Money to burn.
Yeah, he's talking about Nissan should have a fuel cell vehicle ready about 2020. It's his opinion that it's too early for fuel cell vehicles, and they've decided they're going to look into it and develop one vehicle. They haven't said if there's going to be more than that yet. And he's acknowledged the basic concerns with the fuel cell vehicles, which is where do we get the hydrogen and how do we get the hydrogen into the cars?
I think we have to put things into context. When you said that Carlos said they're going to produce one vehicle, he meant one vehicle.
4 tires, that's it.
Yeah. And they're going to sell out, and they're going to proclaim that, hey, we completely sold out of every fuel cell vehicle we manufactured.
Right. And interestingly enough, in this article at the bottom, and it almost really should have been a separate thing by itself, let me quote from this article on Automotive News. It says, and I quote, "Last month, Toyota raised its fuel cell sales goal to 30,000 vehicles by 2020. That compares with this production plan of just 2,000 such vehicles in 2016. To help, Toyota will start selling hydrogen fuel cell buses in early 2017.
Buses?
Was that like Latin? Am I missing was there anything comprehensible in that paragraph?
How are buses going to help sell 30,000? Oh, 30,000 vehicles.
Vehicles,
doesn't
right?
Necessarily say 30,000 cars.
But as it is, Toyota has for some reason decided they're whittling these Mirais one at a time in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't even produced the first 2,000 yet, and yet in 5 years they're going to produce another 28,000.
That's quite a stretch.
Yes. Step 1, design the Mirai. Step 2, Step 3, huge profits.
Simple math.
Yeah. See, it's a really good business plan when you think about it.
But we'll make it up in margin. No, wait, we'll make it up in volume. That's right.
Make it up in volume.
Do you guys think that there is some sort of where there's smoke, there's fire? Because now Nissan is saying they're going to get into the fuel cell arena. Granted, maybe not with many or for a long period of time, but we've got Hyundai talking about it, you've got Honda talking about it, and you've got Toyota talking about it. Are these people hedging their bets, or is there something going on behind the scenes?
Well, except for Hyundai, which is Korean, Honda and Toyota are both Japanese-based, and the Japanese government is going to once again highlight their hydrogen economy, and they're going to do it this time when they host the Olympics. So the Japanese government is really pushing hydrogen. We talked about that a couple of episodes back, that they're really pushing hydrogen even though they're actually going to be importing hydrogen from dirty places around the globe and shipping it in via high-polluting ocean cargo ships and diesel trucks and trains. And so I believe that this is being pushed by the Japanese government, honestly.
I go with what Tony said, Mark, and I think part of it is what you said, which is I think they're just hedging their bets. I think the Japanese government is all in on hydrogen, for better or worse. Just keep in mind, our government was all in on ethanol just a few years ago. So, and that strategy is now gone, thankfully. So these things come and go. But I think that's obviously where Honda and Toyota and now Nissan are coming from. If there's something behind I've said for years, just like I love hydrogen. Just show me where it comes from. What's the secret? What do you know that I don't know? And no one ever has an answer for that. Ever.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I think you'd be, can I say, maybe not all that bright to think that somebody somewhere has a secret way to produce hydrogen that they're not talking about yet. Because honestly, if you had a silver bullet to get hydrogen, and you were a company like Toyota, you'd be insane not to talk about it. Rather than making silly commercials about cow poop and lemonade stands, you'd be making commercials about, look at this amazing way we can make hydrogen that makes sense.
Yeah.
But instead, they're not. They're gonna crack and refine natural gas.
Mm-hmm. So they're going to use fracking, of course, in natural gas, and they're going to say, so you get hydrogen to run your Mirai, and as a side benefit, you can set your tap water on fire.
Absolutely.
I'd like to see that commercial.
I'm pretty sure that clip remained on the cutting room floor.
Absolutely. And actually, the best thing is when the only clean water left in the world is coming out of the back end of your car, win!
It's like Waterworld, that first scene in Waterworld, yeah.
Total win. I just don't know what to say.
There's nowhere to go after that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The Nissans, this is a very, in this article, the quotes from Nissan's CEO are very careful and very conditional and very measured. This is the fuel of the future. This is the way forward. This is where we're going. Quote, we're not in a hurry because we already have a zero-emission solution, goes and said, referring to the company's EVs, including the Leaf. Back to what he's saying, we're not in the same time frame because we're not in the same situation as rivals trying to develop fuel cell vehicles as their zero-emissions offerings. That's a pretty clear statement that they're kind of doing this just because they don't want to be left out. Mm-hmm. That's what I get out of it. But they're making Leaf. They're making, what is it, MD2000, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think with the Leaf and its upgrades that are coming out this year and next, that these guys are ahead of the game on zero emissions vehicles. They are somebody that's gone through the tests and tribulations already. Mm-hmm. They have a marketable vehicle that sells in a great number, and they are making improvements to it incrementally. I gotta believe that they are at the forefront of the electrical vehicle race.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's certainly in Japan. There's no one else, right?
And Goshen even goes on and says we're facing already a problem with the charging infrastructures in electric cars. You can imagine the problem we're going to have with fuel cells. So right off the bat, again, I shouldn't say right off the bat because he already had a quote, but even before they're getting into the cars and manufacturing the cars, he's talking about there's going to be all these problems. There's already all these problems. All these problems that Toyota keeps saying, oh, don't worry about it. We'll take care of that. It's a piece of cake. There's no problem.
Yeah, it's interesting that he realizes that these things exist. That he's seen some of it with the electrics and sees that it's going to be worse with the fuel cells. So, maybe they are just hedging their bets and just want to be part of it and not left out in something that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see who bet right and who bet wrong. Well, speaking of these electric cars that Toyota doesn't believe in, but some other crazy people do, oddly enough, HybridCars.com reported this week that plug-in sales hit an all-time record in September.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's a very good news. A global number of a global record number, 47,000, more than 47,000 plug-in electric vehicles were sold in September all around the world. That's a decent. I mean, again, we're talking globally. That's not huge compared to the other gas cars, but that's a very good number. I think we've kind of broken out of the this is just going to be like for the wackos and the granola crunchers territory, and we're talking about vehicles that are going mainstream.
Yeah, we're talking about a month. So yeah, that's they even talked about in the U.S. right in. There's been 363,000, cars in the U.S. through August 2015, and that's a lot.
Wow.
Holy crap!
Absolutely, it's something that I believe that we have turned the corner. As mentioned, it's not just the early adopters; it's now starting to be mainstream, and you can see it. When speaking to people. About there's more knowledge on the street about electric cars than there's ever been, and people that I meet even when I'm out around town, people know what the car is, which is 2 or 3 years ago, no one had a clue.
Mm-hmm.
And that education has really started to come through, and I think it's starting to affect the sales. I think it is growing, and like Russell said, it's not. It's a drop in a bucket when compared to the normal cars that are out there running on gas, but it's a growing group that continues to grow month after month, year after year.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea, I think, that electric cars are going to go away, it's a temporary thing, or it's going to be something that people try and then go away, it didn't work. I think that's pretty much over. Obviously, these aren't mainstream numbers. These aren't, big numbers that you would see for gas cars. But yeah, like both of you guys said, I mean, I think this is clearly a stepping stone towards that. I think the one thing we have to be careful of, and when I say we, I don't mean the three of us. I mean the community and the car companies, is realizing in some ways that even, and I'm not going to contradict, what I'm saying isn't meant to contradict anything I've just said, but a lot of these cars are still invisible to most people. They may know of them, or they may be a little aware of them, but maybe we're past the point where they think that electric car means golf cart, like it may have meant to them 10 years ago, but it's still a pretty nebulous concept. And we've got a ways to go to get there. And frankly, gas here is $1.89 a gallon. That doesn't help. It doesn't help anybody.
Right.
So, it helps Exxon a lot.
Helps somebody.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't help us. But I think one of the things I think driving this is. You said, just 10 years ago when people thought EVs, they thought golf carts. And I think Tesla has blown the lid off of that. Anyone who thinks that EVs are golf carts, you just have to mention Tesla, and then they're like, oh, yeah, that's right. And most of them will say, oh, I'd take that car in a heartbeat. Well, guess what? It's an EV, so we win. The other side of that is we've had electric vehicles and hybrids and plug-in hybrids for a very long time now. And my Prius is 11 years old and 2 months, to be exact. Still going strong. And there's people at work who know I've had my car for more than a decade. I drive it every day, and it still runs, and it still looks good, and the battery still works, and I still get killer mileage. I'm at, it's November. 59 degrees outside right now, and I'm pulling high 50s in my car. I mean, so long-term durability, it's there. All these people who said, well, I'm going to have to replace the battery. Oh, it's going to fall apart, and this technology's untested. Well, guess what? It's been a decade. You don't need any more convincing. I think that is the corner that we've turned. They've been mainstream for long enough that people are more won over and convinced that they're here to stay.
Mark, am I going to interrupt you, or?
No, I would echo what Tony had said. It just seems that it used to be you had to educate everybody about even what an electric vehicle was, but as Tony had mentioned, Tesla really helped the industry and propelled it, in my mind. They forced other manufacturers to get involved and and jump-started it from the lagging that happened in the early 90s. So it's something that I think you can't put the genie back in the bottle like was done that previous decade. I think it's been released, and it's up to all the EV community just to continue to propel it forward. We seem to be a growing group of people, and I don't see the snowball stopping. It's just rolling down a hill and gaining speed.
I agree. I think there's a danger. And the danger comes in where, as we've developed hybrids, there's no question. You look at, again, Prius, just because I'm familiar with it, I've owned a few of them. You look at, the big concerns are the battery's going to wear out, it's too complicated, it's run by computers, blah, blah, blah. It's just, Prius has over and over again proven that it can meet all of those challenges. The part that I worry about is, as any company, not just Toyota, but in this case we're talking about Prius, we're talking about Toyota, as they go through subsequent generations of these vehicles, their corporate imperative isn't going to be to build the most durable possible vehicle in the world. It's going to be to maximize the profit on what they've already established. And that's the part that scares me a little bit. I think the companies have to be careful not to, for lack of a more articulate metaphor, not to pee in their own pool right now. And they need to keep their standards high so that these vehicles continue to deliver better than average performance. Not just, it can't be just like, hey, that Prius lasted almost as long as my Chevy Malibu. Well, nobody expects a Chevy Malibu to last. It's a piece of crap. Ooh, sorry, GM. You know what I mean? But when a Prius lasts 10 or 15 years, or goes 300,000 miles, or it's a taxi, that's impressive. And I think that's what this category of vehicles needs to continue to do, is maintain that kind of high standard. And that's tough. That means profitability isn't going to be as desirable as it is to grind out trucks and minivans. But I think it's important to grow that product category.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough it's going to be tough to have all the manufacturers do it. Like, do some drop that ball? Do others run with it? Like, these are all independent bodies. They're certainly after profitability, each of them. But there are some that will take it in a different direction, I'm sure, than the others.
It will be interesting to see. Are the leaders of yesterday, will they be leaders tomorrow? And Toyota, again, I'm picking on them all of a sudden. But I mean, Toyota was clearly a leader with Prius.
Yep.
And because of the direction they've decided to go with Mirai, will they be a leader in 5 years? Or will they be the company that helped start it? But doesn't lead anymore. And will that be Nissan or Tesla or GM?
Yeah. Are they going to be Betamax, is what you're saying, basically.
Which was hugely popular, the technically superior format, but it lost. For good reasons it lost. Beta sucked.
Well, marketing pushed it.
Well, they weren't, and it was really simple things, like they weren't smart enough to put the length of time the tape lasted on the tape.
Right.
So what is an L250? How long does that play for? I have no idea.
A little bit more than an L150.
Yeah, but I have a 60-minute VHS cassette here. You know how long that lasts? 60 minutes. I don't miss that at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else about plugins hitting a record this month, guys?
GM just announced that the Volt Generation 1 just sold 100,000 vehicles worldwide.
Wow.
It was announced it happened at some point in October.
Wow.
So 100,000 vehicles worldwide, and I think it was 4,800 of them were in Canada, 85,000 in the United States, and then the rest were in Europe and other mixed places.
10,000 were just lost.
They're just floating around Hamtramck somewhere.
They may have fallen off the cargo ship, but
there's like cargo ships in Ecuador or something, containers full of them, just sitting there like, I don't know what these are.
But let's just say the Somali pirates are EVing like nothing.
They're looking for charging stations in Somalia.
Somalia.
That's great. And when does Volt 2 come out? When did it actually start
It's already out. In fact, people have been taking deliveries over the past 3 weeks.
Have they?
Apparently, 1,200 Generation 2s have found their old owners already.
In the 10 states, is that right? The 10 carb states?
Yep, 10 carb states and Canada.
All right.
Wow.
So they're out in the United States. In Canada, they're oot.
They're oot and about.
Yeah.
I have to get to a Chevy dealer and drive a new Volt.
Well, you're in Florida now, so Florida isn't a carb state, so you are not going to be able to get into one.
Good luck with that.
Would I have to go to Georgia to drive one?
Is Georgia a carb state? I'm not even sure.
No, that's a good question.
I don't know. I know the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, Baltimore,
Right.
Maryland, they're all carb states.
Well, probably. Let's see, carb states. I'm looking. It doesn't. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida.
What?
Florida? What?
Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana. No.
That sounds like a lot more than 10.
Yeah, that sounds like you're just naming states.
It's just listing everyone, but it's not saying if they're a carb state or not. What's the point? Thank you, Wikipedia, for not helping me at all. Bastards.
Very useful.
Yeah. Well, so much for that. Okay.
All right.
Smart.
But I'm sure there's a Gen 1 out there with your name on it, Russell. There's tons of them still available, just floating around. You get a good deal on.
Oh yeah. No, I would love one. Well, that's our show for this week. Let's start the wrap up with shout outs. Mark, let's start with you.
Very good. Thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate coming on the show again. Say hello to my Voltec members out there in Waterloo, Kitchener area, and looking forward to another nice day tomorrow. So hope everyone has some good weather in their end of the country as well.
It's like 70 degrees up there.
Yep.
How does that happen?
I can deal with that.
Yeah.
It's miserably hot down here. I'm just here to tell you. And the mosquitoes crop is huge.
This big.
Oh, they're all fooling around with a pint of my blood.
Yeah.
That's why everyone has screens on their outdoors in Florida, right?
Yes,
Protect
that
you
is
from
exactly why.
those mosquito birds.
Yeah, that and the gators, but we're not going to talk about the gators. So that's WR Voltec, or at WR Voltec on Twitter, correct?
Correct.
And you should get with Mark and follow him because he is the Volt Master. That's what I think of him as, the Volt Master. Volt Master. Okay, so
You need a theme song.
I do. I'm going to work on that. We need a Volt Master theme song for Marcus. Mr. Schaefer.
I just want to remind people to go to facebook.com/whatdrivesus, and if you haven't already, like the page, join the feedback, join the conversation, give us feedback. The articles that we cover are posted on the Facebook page. And make sure and give us a call at 515-51-DRIVE. It's become a running joke now. No one ever calls the number. Even though in every episode we tell people no one ever calls the number, still no one has ever called the number.
I'm so lonely. That's not true,
Are
actually.
you getting serious? Like, no one has ever phoned the number.
No, we've had like 4 phone calls in 5 years, literally like 4.
Call a year. Yeah, that's a good average.
And the thing is, we never miss them because when we get a voicemail, we also get a Google Translate, like transcription.
Mm-hmm.
And the transcription is always like, it has nothing to do with the actual phone message.
It's a wrong number.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. But it'll just be like, hi, I represent the planet Mars. We come for your women. And we listen to the voicemail. It's like, hi, my name's Tom. I have a Volt, and I wanted to talk about it on your show. It's like,
Yes.
I have no idea.
It'll say, hi, I am Stars and Talk Fleming. What?
Then I would like to challenge everyone that's listening to the show today to take that number, take 2 minutes of your life, and give it a call.
You know what? It doesn't work. We've tried it. We've challenged people. We've asked friends. We've requested
offered prizes.
dials.
Yeah.
We have not requested prizes.
Wow. I bet you we're going to get a flood. We're going to get a flood this time.
I think the truth is, nobody wants to talk to us.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's voicemail.
After 5 years, I just have to accept that.
It's a tape machine. No one's talking back to you.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
literally a Betamax on Russell's desk.
You say Betamax? How long is that tape? Oh, sorry.
No one knows.
So that's facebook.com/whatdrivesus. Tony, anything else? I don't want to...
No. That's it. And I'm thinking around in Chicago-related news. No politician has been arrested lately, so it's been kind of quiet.
Well, let me warn you right now, Tony. Get that theme music ready.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I'm on theme music.
You're on theme music duty tonight.
Yeah.
So I'll do the rest of the wrap-up. As always, we're going to thank Michael Mannering for his theme music, I have to own this. I have botched playing, and until we get the technical end of this show sorted out, it's still going to sound pretty junky, but Michael Mannering is still there. He's at manthing.com, and we love him for letting us use that music for our theme. You can visit us at whatdrives.us to download or stream the show. You can also get us through your favorite podcatcher, whether it's iTunes or Stitcher. At iOS or Android, we are there for you. So subscribe, get updated automatically. I think that's it. That's all I want to talk about. I'm not going to talk about the voicemail thing. That's just embarrassing anymore. But my sincere gratitude and thanks go to my panelists this week, Mr. Tony Schaefer and Mr. Mark Coughlin. Thank you, guys.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Can we do this next week?
I think we can.
Will do.
I look forward to it. And for you, the listener, the viewer, however you're seeing or hearing this show, all you have to do is download us next week to find out what drives us.